What are your favorite dude just went crazy stories? A game of dodgeball between sophomores, me at the time, and juniors. Since the teams were unequal, the sophomores got a few junior players. One of them was your typical lanky high school nerd. Let's call him Bob. Skinny, glasses, pale, never really fit in, and he got a lot of crap because of his southern accent. After 2 or so games, the other team started saying we were cheating, which we were sure as they were bigger. They were saying Bob was getting hit, but was not going out. One of the juniors, call him Joe, kept calling him glasses and telling him to get out. Joe was your typical muscle-bound dude who got his kicks for screwing with people like Bob. Nobody knows what came over Joe to go that far, but he got up in Joe's face and began pummeling him with dodgeballs and is screaming every obscenity imaginable. The dude was having a meltdown over a game of dodgeball. Joe laughs it off. Then Bob starts swinging as best as a scrawny white dude can. He lands a few hits to Joe's face. Joe then shoves him to the floor and stares him down. So Bob gets up, turns around and walks. This was the first fight I had ever seen, so I wasn't expecting this. I thought he was going to walk away defeated. Bob grabs the chair that had been on the side of the court and goes mid-90s WWE on Joe. All I heard was the loud clang against his face, and I saw him stumble. 3 sophomores have to hold him back while he is foaming at the mouth, red in the face, and cursing like he was possessed by Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction. His legs are flying all over the place and he even kicked 2 PE teachers in the face. Bob got arrested, and Joe got off scot-free. Needless to say, the rest of the day people were talking about the dude that went crazy. Moral of the story: don't cheat in dodgeball. Chairs may get involved. On our way to a camping trip with my cousin, my brother, and his best friend Aaron, we stopped in on our cousin's white trash ex-boyfriend. He was dead drunk at 2 in the afternoon. When we introduced ourselves, he fixated on Aaron, my brother's friend, and said, "Listen, butthole, I'm Aaron." Got it at cousin's insistence, we stayed for a drink with him. We could see ex-BF Aaron struggling to restrain himself the whole time. But right when we were leaving, he finally snapped and jumped onto our friend Aaron, punching his head and screaming, "I'm Aaron, I'm Aaron." We pushed him off, got us all in the car, and knocked down a fence on the drive out. TLDR, crazy drunken redneck wanted to be the only one named Aaron. I hope your dumbass cousin apologized. I'll make a super long story short. Freshman year of college, I knew a kid who started off the year as a respectable, fun, intelligent guy and got kicked out after a bipolar transformation over winter break, which resulted in him changing into a name-dropping hipster. Looked like Ron Jeremy the last day I saw him, riding a bike around the residential quad with cops chasing him on foot as he yelled, "Don't make me call my lawyer, call my lawyer, call my Israel, the finest Jews anywhere." Junior year of high school, I sat next to a really nice kid who had good grades, was accepted to Virginia Tech, and was basically an all-around just good kid. He practically never drank or did hard drugs, but he smoked a bowl every morning and I enjoyed seeing him blazed every day in second period. This kid, John, never missed a day of school, and some of his friends played poker with him on the weekend, so one Monday when he didn't show up, I asked them what he was up to. They told me that apparently over the weekend he went freaking crazy. They said he smoked a bunch of PCP and was doing hits of keyboard cleaner. Compressed air, I guess. Apparently he was stacking boxes in his basement, telling them that he needed to reorganize and doing other batshit strange things. After a solid week of him being absent, people reported seeing him walking around the town square with a cane. Live in a small town, looking absolutely insane. The next week he showed up on that Wednesday and he was just as frickin' crazy as they all said. He walks into class carrying a postman style bag which had the words American Babysitters stitched on it with the Red Cross symbol underneath. When he sat down, I asked him where he had been and he was quick to tell me that he was vacationing in Hawaii. I told him I didn't believe him and asked him where he got the bag. He said he got it from a babysitting class he took a few years ago and he figured it was more convenient for him to carry his books in it. Everyone around was listening in and he says, "Did you see the moon Sunday night? Full moon. It was freaking crazy. I saw it on the way to the hospital." Wait, why were you going to the hospital? "Oh, for my babysitting class." The frick? He told me that he planned on buying a moped and getting rid of his car and that his mom had kicked him out. When I asked him where he was staying, he looked at me like I was an idiot and told me in my room as if it were obvious. The rest of class consisted of him pulling out a stack of napkins from his backpack and taking down everyone's name and address, telling us that soon he will send us all letters and checks in the mail. He said a lot of crazy crap over the next few weeks, rambling about his lucky penny and crap like that. And then after a long absence he came back normal and told us that he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, was being medicated and had spent some time in a mental hospital. Long and probably uninteresting to you, but I know the kid and still do and can safely say that I will stay far away from PCP and any unorthodox drug crap as well. I don't always advocate drug use, but when I do, it sure as heck isn't PCP. Oh man, late to the party. Anyways, I'll go ahead and tell my story, even if it will be buried in the mountain of replies. So sophomore year in high school I played football. This one day it was extra hot and we didn't get that many water breaks. So this guy starts tipping over while we are doing running drills. It really looked like he was acting and everyone was just ignoring him. This next part, I crap you not. He leaned over to the guy next to him and said, "You are very attractive," and then fell over. Everyone was just sitting there wondering what the heck was going on. He proceeded to yell, "Leave me the frick alone," while one of the trainers was trying to get him to call his mom. The trainers beforehand called 911. Of course, the guy was going crazy. He got up and started walking around, giving all the coaches handshakes followed by a polite "frick you." He walked around talking about how he wanted to drive a stick shift and was just screaming the most obscure things. Turns out his kidneys failed or something because he didn't eat all day. He legit went crazy. I work in a little corner store. For a while, this man would come in and buy a hot dog every day. The hot dogs never changed, nor did the buns. He had a nasty habit of putting ketchup, mustard, relish, mayo and chili on the dog, which was a disgusting spectacle. So he comes in, I fix him the usual. He takes one bite, lets it fall out of his mouth onto his shirt and the floor and screams, "Your jive butt cracker and this hot dog is soft." I kind of laugh and say, "Sir, would you like your dollar back? I don't want freaking crap from you. I want you to fix my dog. Nothing has changed. You can take the dollar back, or you can have the hot dog. But I can't have you in here calling me names." He throws a sloppy hot dog on the ground and never returned. "Your jive butt cracker and this hot dog is soft." Dear Lord, that is hilarious. This is a story about my dad going apeshit for the first time. My dad is a very calm guy, but he knows when a situation requires some aggression. However, till this day I had never seen him go that crazy. We were driving one day and my dad was conducting a lot of business over the phone. He seemed to be getting gradually agitated at all the things he had to do. He was on the phone with this mechanic who was supposed to have one of his cars ready. My dad owned a dealership, and the guy had apparently been jerking him around for a while. So my dad was calmly talking to him and he says, "What do you mean you said it would be ready today? No, you have changed the date many times. This was the last time." My dad has a bit of an accent, so from my view this was hilarious. Yelling at the top of his lungs, "What? Listen to me, you freaking piece of crap. I'm going to come down there with a tank of gas, stand on your desk and pour it all over you and your office and light you on fire if this freaking car is not ready in an hour." The next words out of his mouth were as calm as ever. "Okay then, I will see you in an hour." Now that's how you get crap done like a boss. Guy in my TFT clan got so sick of Utah he tried to jump off a building one day, but he posted about it online. So, some of the dudes found his IRL info via internet stalking and contacted the cops. The cops didn't do crap, but apparently, Utah has a Mormon police force. The Mormon police took it seriously, tracked him down to the roof, and stopped him. But living under a theocratic Mormon regime his entire life, the Mormon police was the last thing he wanted to see at the time. See, he was a weeaboo, so he had brought along a katana, as weeaboo are wont to do. He pulled it out and began fighting the Mormon police. Now, as many people are aware, Mormons are poor sword fighters. He disabled like 7 Mormon police before the Mormons sent in a Mormon Templar, top secret Mormon warriors. His Weeaboo training was no match for the plate-armored warrior, and he was struck down. Either that or the Mormon police took him home, where his Mormon family put him in counseling. Oh god, what? I was friends with this guy who worked at the corner store underneath my building. For the 3 years that I lived there, I would talk to him weekly, or hang out with him after work. One day him and his brother called me up asking if I'd like to drive across the bridge and hang out over there. I said great, and off we went. After crossing the bridge, it turns out corner store guy had been drinking that night and started giving his brother directions to some guy's house. Some guy owed him money, and we drove around in circles for an hour looking for his place. We came to a stop in a cul-de-sac and drunken corner store guy starts insisting that he wants to drive, and brother lets him get behind the wheel. I immediately get out of the car and refuse to get back in until his brother is in the driver's seat. They switch places, and corner store guy starts violently slamming himself up against the passenger side window, shattering it with his own head. At this point I'm done. I start walking down the street and they follow me with the car, begging me to get back in. I was in an unfamiliar place so I cautiously agreed, and corner store guy berated me all the way home. You go to Roller, don't you? I graduated in 2005. So one night we are having a party at my house. We were partying until like around 6 AM and we all crashed. I of course crashed in my closet fort with my GF. True story. B love closet forts. When we start hearing a dude screaming, this guy starts screaming at the top of his lungs over nothing. People tell him to calm down so he just starts running around the house screaming I am being glam. I am being glam. I'm as clam as a calm. My buddy gets up to try to simmer him down so the guy grabs my friend by the collar and hurls him at a mirror knocking it off the wall. It's at this point I hear a knock at my door and I answer it. The guy hands me a golf club and in a calm tone tells me you're going to need this. The guy then goes back into the living room and starts spewing incoherent insults like you dong worshipping seamsters. About this time my other friend wakes up from being passed out in his room and walks out into the living room. He asks what's going on and why this guy is freaking out. He goes to hug the guy that is going insane to try to calm him down, but Mr. Crazy isn't having any of this. He punches his hand through the window and then breaks off a shard of glass and slices my friend's hand wide open with it. The two wrestle for a while and Mr. Crazy sprints outside into his van. Now we had gotten many eviction warnings lately because of noise complaints and Mr. Crazy knew about this. He goes out to his van and starts revving his engine and doing donuts in our driveway yelling let's get evicted. Let's get evicted. He does this for about 2 more minutes all while throwing garbage out of his car. He then peels out of our driveway and about 30 feet down the road he hits another car head on. 1. He got a DUI. 2. We found out later he was on M. 3. Nobody knows why he originally flipped out. M is a heck of a drug. I had this roommate who got completely trashed at a party, stripped down to his underwear and grabbed of a knife from the kitchen. Started doing pull-ups on a threshold with the knife in his mouth. Then put the knife up to some kid's neck and scared the crap out of him. Know that game? When I was a resident physician, my significant other decided to call the police to hospitalize me because I was drunk complaining to her how horribly stressful my life was. So the police show up, and since I used to eval people for psychiatric hospitalization I knew what to say to avoid it. Well, it was to no avail, plus I was drunk so I decided to run and had 4 firemen and a policeman chasing me on foot while I screamed I'm not crazy. Long story short, I ended up in the psych center and so much for privacy. Everyone at the hospital knew what happened. Several months later I wasn't a medical resident anymore. TLDR. I was stressed, trying to vent. Girlfriend tried to hospitalize me so I ran from the fireman and got screwed. Ouch. I just started reading House of God. Your story reminds me of the book. I saw some guy lose it on the tour at Pearl Harbor because the guide told him that he could only bring water and not Diet Pepsi along. He went on a big rant about how the younger generations are fricked and Americans don't have pride before running off. My friends and I call these incidents hulking up. That is, watch out. That guy's hulking up right before some crazy dude breaks some crap for no apparent reason. I am a very calm person, probably too calm. However, I do remember a time when I flipped out myself. I was about 10. We had a pool and our house was the place where the family would come to party. Aunts, uncles, etc. Well, my uncles were pretty rough. We would play games in the pool and they would throw the kids around. It was loads of fun. One time, I got thrown and hit the edge of the pool. It hurt like a mother sucker. Well, instead of empathizing with my very real pain, one of my uncles decided to make fun of me. I hit my back on the edge. It hurt, so come on, baby, he kept egging me on. I finally snapped. It was almost as if I was looking at myself. I wasn't really in control of my actions. I screamed and lunged at him. I was attempting to seriously harm him by digging my fingers into him. Thankfully, being so young at the time, nothing actually happened. I was very scared of myself that day. Once at my high school, I was delivering some papers to the front office for a teacher. Since the rooms where they put the kids in ISS are behind the desks of the receptionists there, I got a pretty good view of what was going on. One of the doors slams open and some kid just all out sprints out of there, jumps over the desk, and out the door. One of the security guards starts shouting that he needs backup into his walkie-talkie and runs after him. And the receptionist stepped into the main hallway to watch the action. As the kid got to the end of the hallway and was about to run outside to freedom, a security guard from another part of the building, who's coming over from a perpendicular hallway, suddenly leaps into my field of vision. He straight up flying tackles the kid, and several security guards frog marched him back to his ISS room. TLDR, some kid tried to escape ISS. I have no idea why. Okay, I read a few of these drug stories and had to post mine. I was in high school walking to my next class when this super Mormon kid came up to me and said, "Dirt the Mormon, DTM. Hey dude, what do you know about salvia?" Me. "Oh, it's like this hallucinogenic drug that's legal, you can purchase it at any smoke shop." DTM. "Well, since it's legal, I guess I could try it. Do you have a place I can smoke and a device we can use?" Me. "Yeah, we can go to my buddies and we got a bong you can use. If you got the money, we can pick up some this weekend." DTM. "Yeah, that works for me." That weekend we went to my buddy's house. There was about 5 of us including Derp the Mormon. Everything was going alright, we were all stoned except for him, and he started to take his first hit. He went silent for a moment and started to make some mumbling noises. DTM. "Burp derp, burp or a derp burp." Me. "Derp, you okay?" DTM. "Berep derprop burp me, dude you?" Before I could finish the question, he sprung up to his feet and started screaming salami I. He flung his arms wildly like he was fighting an army of demons. He knocked over the bong and ran through the room. We grabbed him and held him till he calmed down. Me. "Derp, calm down man, you gotta snap out of it." DTM. "Salami I. Oh god." Me. "Dude, calm the frick down." DTM. Okay, I think I am fine now. I'm sorry, I let him go, but as soon as I did he went batshit insane again and screamed salami I. We grabbed him and dropped him on the couch and he snapped out of it. He kept saying, "Dude guys, drugs are not for me man. Drugs are not for me." I guess the moral of the story is next time don't pick out the strongest salvia for a guy who has never done drugs before. D. I was standing at an elevator at work when a man who had given a lecture earlier in the day walked up to me. He carried with him a machine in a briefcase that he used in his lecture. I had asked during his talk if I could try it out, and he refused. So I asked if I could give it a go now that he was apparently done for the day, and he just went mental. The ironic thing was the lecture was on not allowing stress to overpower you. He called himself a stress pert. Well, I got so caught up in what was happening, I picked up the briefcase that he dropped, and I ended up that I stole it. TLDR didn't know what a stress machine was this morning, and now I have 2 of them. Friend of my brother, 13 or so at the time, wearing full-on Davy Crockett ensemble. Well, what you would think of as Davy Crockett ensemble, mowing the lawn and crying. That is all. I'm freaking miserable right now, but the ARPS story actually made me laugh out loud, so thank you for that. I love the image of some crazed college kid throwing light bulbs claiming there was use. I am a manager of a Burger King off Interstate 40, and for 8 hours the other day we couldn't sell any beef products. I don't know where to begin. Suicidal 7-Eleven man. Scene. Busan, South Korea. After a night of darts, drinks and dancing at a bar and nightclub, we are seated outside a 7-Eleven enjoying some after club drinks. Enter suicidal man. Sitting with Korean women at adjacent table. A seemingly normal Korean conversation is going on between the group. With quick movements, suicidal man has grabbed a glass soju, liquor, bottle and is banging it furiously on the ground. After a few bangs, the glass finally shatters everywhere. Enter my group of friends. As we watched, the girls were frozen, but with relatively calm faces as the man continued to talk to them. I noted as he pointed the shattered bottle to his jugular, then his subclavian and brachial arteries. Either he was giving them an anatomy lesson, or telling them that he could use the bottle to easily kill himself for the girls. Either way, the girls got away after a minute or two. We chased the girls down to ask if they knew him. They had no idea who he was, but insisted that he was crazy. We returned to the 7-Eleven where he sat alone at a table. I watched as he poured out an entire Gatorade bottle on the floor, and then filled it back up with another bottle of soju. He then approached our group. With staggering and slurred English, he told us to leave, to go away, exit my group of friends. Yikes, that sounds to me like something that could happen in a Persona game. Haha. Throwaway account, because they might still be mad. Years ago my friend threw a house party. He was heavily involved in El Salvadorian street gang warfare. Anyways, a few guys from MIS showed up and he wasn't going to do anything because they had said they just wanted to party. More and more people show up to the party until my friend had to throw everyone out. We were still young at the time. While he was trying to get everyone out of his house, a large fight breaks out between the rival gangs and some guy he didn't know stabbed some other guy he didn't know like 30 times in his kitchen while the guy who was getting stabbed was trying to get out of the window. His kitchen was on the second story to add injury to injury. Pretty much his best house party he ever threw. Ain't no party like a MIS party. I worked for this heating and air company about 2 years ago. We had this skinny early 20-something kid working there. He was one of those types where he knew his crap but was a total dong and impossible to get along with. Anyway, one day at work another co-worker was installing a return grill. One of those things in your house that holds the filter that you change every 90 days or so. He puts one nail in it to hold it up and he runs out of the attic to go grab some more nails and tells us not to touch it. Skinny guy leans on it and the whole thing falls through the ceiling. Other co-worker comes back and sees it on the floor and flips his crap, cursing and yelling at skinny kid. Skinny kid, though and butthole, really never gets mad. He just talked a lot of crap behind everyone's back. Anyways, he snaps and picks up a 2x4 and just starts wailing on other coworker. Did I mention other coworker is about 6 feet built, 195 pounds all muscle. Skinny kid gets a couple whacks in. Then he proceeds to perform some wrestling maneuvers until other co-worker recoups from the initial blows and proceeds to choke him into submission. Skinny kid calls out the next day and I never see him again. Last I heard he was addicted to drugs and living on the streets. One time one of my brother's friends was eating in a local diner highly intoxicated. I'll call him Bobby. Bobby turned to his friend and asked if that guy was looking at him weird. Bobby's friend said shut up and keep eating. Bobby then proceeded to call the guy out. The guy then got up and got into my brother's friend's face. Bobby grabbed him and slapped the guy with one of his pancakes. Bobby then flipped the dude over the table and decided the best idea was to tear the diner apart. He started knocking over tables and grabbing the staff, throwing food and pans. The cops finally came and he ran out the back entrance. They caught up to him like 10 minutes later. Ended up doing 5,000 worth of damages. There was a known crazy kid during high school. Let's call him Ryan. In the dinner queue, Ryan pushes in front of my friend whilst holding his dinner tray. My friend allows this because everybody knew the guy was crazy. Ryan asks my friend, why didn't you say anything about that? My friend replies, it didn't bother me. Ryan replied, well, IT should have, and continuously beats him with the blue dinner tray. TLDR. Guy loses his crap after my friend doesn't complain about being pushed in front of and beats him with a dinner tray. Worked at a movie theater. A guy comes in to pre-order tickets for Passion of the Christ. He seems fairly normal, but then after he gets his tickets he turns to me and my co-worker who's sitting in the box office with me and says, "Do you girls believe in Jesus?" I was so not in the mood, so I just rolled my eyes and turned away from him, and my friend laughs nervously and says, "Sure." He starts doing the shifty eye thing and then literally runs out of the theater while shouting, "The end is near. Live for Jesus. Be crazy." One time at a party in town, a 14-year-old that nobody likes and is far too overconfident kept trying to get into fights with people. Most people were too sober or too apathetic to bother, but finally another guy just cracks him right in the jaw. The 14-year-old runs out and comes back 5 minutes later with his brother, who was a little older, and has both a knife and a gun on him, screaming, "Don't frick with us or I will fricking kill you," over and over again. At this point, my friend, who was very drunk, just pushes the brother saying, do it, then over and over. Luckily, nothing more came of it. I used to sell televisions at Circuit City. One day, I'm giving a spiel to a customer, and this spear made from scissors taped to a yardstick flies between us and lodges in a $7,000 television. The customer and I look at the spear, look at each other, back at the spear, and then drop to the floor and start crawling. Turns out, one of the guys working the floor with me decided to go crazy. I watched him as he walked onto the TV stage. We had all the projector TVs on this makeshift stage, reached up through the ceiling, and pulled down all this crap he'd been stockpiling for a few months. He pulled his spear out of the television, and walked out of the store with his loot. I never saw him again. A guy in NYC is crossing the crosswalk at a stoplight, with a taxi first in line at the red light. He turns 90 degrees as he's halfway across the street, walks directly up the hood of the car onto the roof and just boots the heck out of the taxi number light up thingy. It goes flying. Then he simply walks down the back of it and down the street back into anonymity. High school biology, dissecting fetal pigs. The teacher lectured at least twice about how this was a privilege and we needed to be respectful of the dead piglets. On like day 2 of dissecting, some kid, pretty bright but definitely different, just kind of goes nuts. He saws the limbs off of his fetal pig with a scalpel and makes a frickin' bracelet. A bracelet out of the fetal pig's limbs. He put it on and wore it. One guy from my school was on shrooms at a party. He was playing GTA at the party and the party ended while he was still playing. He left, but he thought he was still playing GTA, so he stole a cop car, drove it around a bunch, smashed it into another cop car, drove off, and then hit another car. When he went to trial, his argument was I was on shrooms and I was playing GTA, but when I stopped playing GTA, I thought I was still playing GTA. Sounds like a valid defense. Nearing the end of high school in my senior year, this girl was having a party just so everyone graduating can chill and hang out. Next thing you know, randoms come and start to hang out. I was dating that night, so I witnessed all of this happen firsthand. This little kid suddenly starts going ballistic on everyone. He was either really drunk or really on something else, but he had one of those box cutter knives and kept threatening to stab people with it. Okay, so his friends realize that this kid has to go when suddenly he cuts his own hand open and blood starts going everywhere. He blames this on the fact that somebody threw a bottle at him and he caught it with his hand and it shattered. I have no clue what is going on at this point except seeing this guy getting held back by all his friends. Him waving his bloody hand around and saying he was going to kill everyone. His friends managed to drag him near the street. Her house was on a quieter street with streetlights pretty far apart, and that's the last I heard of him. Until I was taking to a friend outside at the front of the house and I saw him running up and down the street yelling something about God. I honestly thought this kid had a major mental issue, but after discussing it with his friend, apparently he gets like this when he is all mangled. So just trying to be nice. No clue why I did this. I just told the kid he should stop running on the street before he gets hit by a car. Next thing you know, a car is coming full force towards him going around 70 km/h. He is screaming "God take me now" with his hands in the air in the middle of the street. Since this was a darker road, the lady didn't see him I guess, and she tried to go around him, swerve out of the way, but the kid decided at the same time to move out of the way also. Next thing I noticed is seeing this kid fly around 20 feet into the side of the curb and crying his eyes out screaming for his mom. I was in utter shock and police, ambulance and fire truck all came. I decided not to stay around and get questioned by the police, so I made my move and left. The girl told me later that the police said the kid had a broken leg, 2 broken ribs and either cracked or broke his pelvis. This I don't remember. Also he needed to get a lot of stitches. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.